soon. But I mean, he's had this whole storyline with him and Kevin Owens over the last 9 months has been absolutely great. And I don't know. I mean, again, another first round Hall of Famer in my opinion.
Absolutely, and a Winnipegger.
Yeah, a Winnipegger. I mean, he and my brother-in-law actually went to school together. So 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I count only one.
Oh, that was epic.
Yeah.
There was a few other moments on there. I believe one actually involved John
Cena, and probably what I considered to be the worst matchup of the night. He and Brie Bella defeated The Miz and Maurice, and I call it the worst match of the night because it really was the worst match of the night. And after the match, John Cena proposed to Nikki Bella in the middle of the ring. And there has been some question whether or not it was staged because in the video package before the match, Miz and Maurice brought up the fact that John Cena has not proposed to Nikki Bella, that they weren't planning to get married, everything. And for them to go off and to do this after the match, it felt staged. I'm hoping, for their sake that it wasn't. But, I mean, and if that's the case, then shame on everyone for pooping on their moment. But, I mean, that's the way it kind of felt to me, unfortunately. And, I mean, congratulations to them on their engagement. Well done. I mean, I hope they, go on to have a wonderful marriage. But, I mean, that, I guess, is about as close as a WrestleMania moment. Another thing they had... Oh, what the heck is that stupid guy's name? And there is Mojo Rawley. He won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and I don't remember the guy's full name, but he's known as Grunk, and he is from the New England Patriots. He actually won. These guys play football together, and Grunk actually helped him win the Battle Royal, and this is over other guys that were in this thing. They had Braun Strowman in there. They had Sami Zayn. They had Big Show in what is going to be his last WrestleMania. As well as a lot of other guys in there that were deserting. And for Mojo Rawlings to go off and to win it, just so that WWE could have a moment with Grunk that is going to get them some publicity, absolutely pisses me off. And what ticks me off even more is that Samoa Joe. This would have been an epic way to have, gotten him onto the WrestleMania card, even if it was on the pre-show, and for him to go up and make an absolute impact. They could have done the same thing with a bunch of guys from NXT, and they missed the ball so bad just so they could have a WrestleMania moment with a football player.
Yeah, actually, the guy's name is Rob Gronkowski.
Thank you, Weem.
The guy is a beast. When you said Gronk, I know who he is because there's so many memes about this guy. He is an awesome football player. He is a giant, hulking gorilla man.
He is huge. I will say that. And I've actually seen his picture base being used in e-fetting as well, which actually seems very appropriate. When you look at the guy. But yeah, I mean, that kind of ticked me off. And there was several, I mean, we're talking about 7 hours of wrestling, and you had 3 pretty good matches on there. I mean, I think, honestly, probably one of the best matches was the first matchup on the pre-show, which featured the Cruiserweight champion Neville defending the title against Austin Aries. It was an epic match. It was a great way to get the fans who were already in the building really excited and really pumped. And just watching Neville go off and hit that red arrow, finishing move is just phenomenal. It's a great move, and I love it, that move.
It definitely seemed like an awesome night. Oh.
And the fact that, I think my wife's been making comments here on Spreaker about this, and yes, it was very long. 7 hours, exceptionally long. As I said, my dad came over to watch the show with us. He left around 9 o'clock with my mother, and my son, finally fell asleep probably around 10 on his little couch in front of the TV, and oh my god, I was like looking at the time, and it's like, okay, I thought this was only going to be 4 hours long, and they still hadn't even gone to the last 3 matches of the night. At that point, I mean, 4 hours into the show, which was like 6 hours altogether. I mean, WrestleMania absolutely was a huge event. Would I call this the best WrestleMania? Absolutely not. I think, if you go into the early days, I mean, even WrestleMania 3 was, I think was a far better WrestleMania. But it has been better than the last couple ones that they've had. And I'm glad they went off and went with Undertaker versus Roman Reigns in the main event, as opposed to either of the world title matches. It felt appropriate to go off and have Undertaker, be able to close out the show, and then, then end everything with the imagery of him, leaving his, glove and coat and hat in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll give it, a generous B+, for it.
Well, as William said, he said so many of the IWC were whining about the SmackDown women's title match being bumped, then cheered when it was moved to upper mid-card, then frowned because it sucked.
You know what? When you have... They had 6... whenever you have 6 competitors in a matchup, it's not going to be great. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a spot in there for every one of the competitors, but it's very difficult, to go off and have a matchup really good with that many. I've often said, the more competitors you have in a matchup, the harder it is to have a really good match. The only exception to the rule is probably like a ladder match, and that's only because of all the possible spots you can go off and you can do with the ladder with that many people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was by far probably one of the weaker matches, which really sucks because a lot of those ladies are really great competitors. And I mean, you have Mickie James and Becky Lynch, and I'll tip my hat to Naomi. I know a lot of people online were whining, when she won her first SmackDown Women's Championship, and they were whining even more when she got the title back on Sunday night. But I mean, she has worked her butt off, and she's so much better than being the one half of the Funkadactyls when she first made to the main roster a few years back. So I mean, I applaud them for going off and trying, but unfortunately, it didn't work that great. I was actually disappointed with the Raw Women's Title match. I felt that match had probably needed about 10 more minutes. Again, I mean, you had 3 very strong competitors in that matchup. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. All 3 of them really good. Nia Jax is good. She's still kind of green. But, they portray her really good as this, she's 6 feet tall. She's well over 200 pounds. She is an absolute beast. And she's been booked wonderfully. I just felt that matchup was rushed. They went off and, they eliminated Nia within the first 5 minutes, and then I was thinking to myself, oh my god, Sasha's eliminated. And then they went off and they did a kind of a tribute for Bayley, using the elbow drop to beat Charlotte to win the matchup, but everything just kind of felt off with that match. And again, I think they tried to rush it so they could try to get so much in there. I mean, they had, I don't even know off the top of my head, but they must have had at least 10 matches maybe on the main card. And just some matches felt like they went on too long, and other matches felt like they didn't have enough time.
And that generally is what happens. But unfortunately, we're pretty much at the end of the show. I do want to point out that last Thursday, I actually did my first ever Two Bearded Men show.
I haven't had a chance to listen to that.
It is listed as explicit for obvious reasons, but it definitely was a wicked start to talking about The Walking Dead as well as Game of Thrones and all that. This Thursday, we will be talking about the season finale of The Walking Dead, which there's so much to talk about, and so much that we had actually discussed on last Thursday's show that actually came true. Which is really awesome. It shows how well we actually know The Walking Dead and how well we kind of follow things along. So
You're piquing my interest here, and I don't even follow The Walking Dead.
Well, the funny thing is the things we actually predicted were about characters that are not in the graphic novels. So we're not predicting things off of things that we actually have read. We're going off our own instincts, and it was awesome to see our opinions and our thoughts and ideas of what could happen come to fruition. So that in itself is very proud for me alone to be able to say, you know what, hey, we knew that was coming. And not because it was predictable, but because that's what we would want to see happen. So
that's awesome.
So definitely this Thursday, it's going to be our second episode, so we're going to talk a lot about The Walking Dead and maybe a little bit about Game of Thrones because that's coming up soon as well, which that is going to be epic. It's going to be a very long season, and I cannot wait to pretty much debunk every single episode for people because, of course, the writer doesn't know how to write a book, but the producers know how to make a show.
And there you go.
That's pretty much the layman way to put it.
Awesome.
So definitely check it out.
Okay, so shameless plug time.
Shameless plug time. So you can follow me on Twitter at RealCaptFizz. So real Captain Fizz.
You can follow this local fellow at That Mask Guy. Follow the show at Fizz Mask Show. Better yet, just go to our website, www.fizzmaskshow.com.
.com. Sorry.
And you can go off and there's a lot of great content on there. There's photos from several of the conventions that we've been to as a recent. I believe there's links on there as well to other materials.
Yes. I do have to point out that we both actually missed the Manitoba Comic Convention this Sunday. There was just
there was a bunch of stuff.
You were under the weather.
I worked on Saturday, and then on Sunday I had absolutely no energy, and I wanted to save what little I had to actually watch WrestleMania. So neither of us can really talk too much about it.
I actually spent the first half of the morning with this desire to not live. I went out to a social the night before, which was really awesome. But my body really took a long time to recover, and then I spent the rest of the day actually going through the city of Winnipeg here, collecting what only can be described as pop heroes. I've got like
welcome to the addiction.
Yes,
my wife and I have a bunch of them at home now as well. So
I actually have 4 brand new Harley Quinn pop statue things, as well.
Someone's got an addiction.
As well as an Olivia Moore pop. So basically, Olivia Liv Moore, who is from iZombie, which is basically my all-time favorite show right now, other than The Walking Dead.
That's funny. Okay.
Yes.
I've have actually watched the show and have never went off and got that.
It's the most ironic thing. A zombie.
Very very appropriate as far as
it's awesome. So I've pretty much become addicted. I've got this little Harley Quinn ball thing that kind of rocks back and forth. I had a Riddler, but I gave it away because I'm not a Riddler fan. I actually, when I first opened it, I honestly thought it was the Joker because these things here, when you open them, you don't know what they are. It's like a mystery pack, and for me to pull
mystery boxes,
for me to pull a Harley Quinn out of my very first one, I think is pure luck. And then I went and bought these little tin containers that actually have little small figurines, and unfortunately, I got a katana, and I can't remember who the other girl is. Wonder Woman.
Ah.
So I got a katana and a Wonder Woman. So I'm not exactly ashamed on that. Two very awesome female heroes or villains, or whatever you want to call